Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We'll be checking out a video that was recommended by Susan, and the video that Susan recommended is titled How We See the USA After Living in Europe for Over a Decade. But these guys are actually living in Germany. I saw that in the description. Was that where I saw it? I think I saw that, yes, living in Germany, yes. So yeah, we're gonna be checking out this video right now. So thank you for watching. Shout out to Germany and shout out to Susan, and also shout out to the ADAGDW an expat channel. Shout out to them. They got 3.3 thousand subscribers. You guys can include that link in the pinned comment section and in the description of this video. Go show some love to those guys. And yeah, if you have any recommendations, you can also recommend videos using that link that is going to be provided in the pinned comment section. Yeah, there's two links. One for the original video and one so you guys can recommend videos. Anyways, guys, let's check this out.
Have you ever noticed how much effort it takes to do anything in the United States?
After living in Germany for over a decade, whenever we go back,
We realize we don't view the USA the same as we once did.
even mundane things like buying some food require more planning, effort, and time than you might think. Here in Berlin, say I need just some. There's no 10 minutes in the parking lot. There's no.
You know, I can be so real with you about that. That is so true. I've been privileged to actually have a food line. You guys wouldn't know what that is. It's not Walmart, but yeah, it's a grocery store. One of my favorite actually. You know, and a Dollar General. I was so privileged that down the street, you know, there was a food line, Dollar General, and a gas station. You know, so yeah, I was quite. So yeah, but on average, you don't live close to a grocery store at all. It's just the truth. It's simple as that. You gotta drive like about I don't know, 10, 15. You get you one.
Sitting in traffic. And
Not to mention
I get my
traffic.
steps in. But it's not just about driving, it's about how we feel when we're around Americans, something that was once part of every day. With the emotional distance of being in Europe for 13 years, we're asking ourselves,
How have our feelings about the United States changed?
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, die
but whenever I land back in the United States and I get off the plane, there's this overwhelming feeling that I always have of, familiarity, but also unfamiliarity, a bit of dread, excitement. And I think that anyone who's ever lived abroad and visits their home country can totally relate.
Every time I come to the USA, the first thing you're hit with is this feeling of kind of friendship,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
And the moment you talk to that border guard, instead of just going through your paper and just be on your way, he literally says, welcome home. Hey, how you doing? How was your trip? How's it going?
Or in Germany, that's kind of say, and they move you along. They look at your documents, they say, get out of my face. So I feel like in the States it's more personal, whether that be a positive or negative, but at least it's a little more personal.
It's not something you get in Germany. How I see the USA in that respect is you feel like you're part of a community. You're probably saying, oh, politically, that's not the case in the US anymore. But I'm not talking about politically. Because, when you bump into a guy in the street and you're talking to him, you don't know who he voted for or why. That doesn't matter at that point.
Whether it feels fake or real, that is something that I do 100% experience when I'm in the States.
I'm sure all Europeans don't want to hear any more about the American friendliness because I know a lot of Europeans, they look at it as if it's fake. They're not actually your friend. How could they be your friend so quickly? Around, they'll even give you a 55% discount.
Click the link in the description below to try LingoPie for more than half off. When I first moved to Berlin, I wanted to meet people, and so I decided to go to a bar. I went around 6 p.m., went home at 12. I went to like 6, 7 different bars, and I came home that night meeting nobody. That is not a great feeling, especially when you're young, you're trying to find yourself in a new city, in a new country. And after only a week, I really thought, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna have this grand old time, just like I can do in the States. But I went home feeling fairly lonely for my first week.
I have a positive outlook for the people. Forget the politics, forget all that. I have that outlook for the people, and that is what makes me smile, is walking around, having people who aren't afraid to talk to the person standing next to them or to come up and, you're out there, you're filming a YouTube video on the street and walk up, hey, what are you doing? Can I watch? This is so interesting. Whereas in Germany, people tend to stay away from each other and, try to, and kind of eye people past.
Yeah, they stay in there 2-3. The honest truth is, if I'm being honest with you, living in Finland at the moment, does it affect me that I don't get those interactions? I'm not gonna say it affects me because it really doesn't, because I try to emulate the situation that I'm in, right? Adaptation is very important in life, and if you don't adapt, you're gonna just suffer. It's as simple as that. So I'm not affected by it, but I can definitely tell you that it is something that is quite wholesome, and I get the European standpoint of it, that it seems fake, right? And I get the American standpoint where it's, like a little bit harsh. It's like, man, gee, golly, we're in an elevator. Like, I've been in an elevator in Finland, and I'm telling you, it's one of the most awkward things, bro. It's like, it's just like, can I get out of here, please? Like, in Finland, I am not going in an elevator. If I have the chance to go in an elevator with someone else, I am not doing it, right? It's just awkward. But in the United States, you're gonna go and be like, yo, what's good, bro? How you been? Nice shoe, whatever, chit chat, whatever, right? But at the same time, I'm not gonna critique the United States for its friendliness, and I'm not gonna critique Europe for a more reserved behavior, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't make your life any better or any worse. It might make you smile, make you have a better day, but it's unique, and I like the way how Europe is, and I definitely like the way how the United States is when it comes to those interactions.
Aggressively from afar instead of going up. Hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? This is interesting.
Whenever I go out with my friends, always in the back of my head, you think, I'm able to meet someone cool tonight, even if it's an hour or 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I have a cool conversation with a stranger, and that's kind of the spice of life, is meeting new people and hearing their stories. And you don't get a lot of that living here in Berlin.
My wife even says that when I'm visiting the US, I'm kind of a different person, but in a way, she says I'm about like 10% more outgoing and 10% more friendly.
My personality can change whether I'm in the United States or in Germany. Not what I mean, who I am as a core human, but even how I interact with other people. In Germany, I'm also very comfortable here, of course. It's been a long time. My German's not perfect, and I don't know all the nuance of the language, of the culture, and that's what I'm learning. That's why it is so fun to live abroad. I'm myself, but a little bit dumber when I'm here in Germany, which is also okay because I'm a really smart guy.
Not being afraid to talk to somebody next to you, to engage with people about random things. When I pick up that vibe, I start being that way. And so when I'm in Germany, I'm in Europe, I'm a little bit more reserved than I am in the US.
So now when I visit the US, I really appreciate that warmth, that warm blanket that kind of cuddles around me that I'm used to, that familiarity that I just don't get here. One of the biggest things you look forward to as an American is your 16th birthday. You get your real driver's license, which is like the most exciting thing.
You get your freedom.
You love your first car, whether it's a 1992 Corolla,
95 Ford Escort.
95 Ford Escort.
Yeah.
So the car becomes a big extension of you as a human.
In general, you need the car to go everywhere. To go to the doctor's office, to go to school, to go to work, to go buy AA batteries. It's a whole process. You gotta buy something. Let's get in the car, check the mirror, do the whole thing, drive half an hour, now you're at shopping. Unless you live in the few exceptions like Chicago, New York, or maybe Portland.
Boston, maybe.
Yeah, but those are not the rule, those are exceptions to the rule.
Living here, that all kind of changed.
You get used to public transportation, you get used to the train, the tram, the subway, the S-Bahn. Within a stone's throw of your house and your destination, there is some form of a train that is...
Yeah, I still don't really understand the whole situation with Germany and how you guys live, because it seems as if you guys, I've been told, there are stores at the bottom and y'all live on top of that, which is, wild.
It's gonna get you there. This takes a lot of stress off of you because there's so less to think about, and someone else is taking care of it for you. You can sit back, read your book, and all you have to do is just get off at the right stop. Now, when I go back to the US, I hate cars. You forget how tied down you are because of the car, and it affects you in many ways because your stress levels go up because planning is now huge in terms of doing anything. Like, you're gonna go out with your friends to a bar.
Let's go to this bar, let's go to this restaurant. Where are we? Where are we gonna meet? Who's driving? Who makes sure they have a DD, a designated driver, so they get home safe.
Right.
And it just adds a lot of stress to my life every time I'm in the States, having to just worry about other people and then having to worry about how I get home or how much money I have to spend on Uber. And it just becomes just a mountain of logistics, we do have
Honestly, the truth is, like, I've never thought about this before, but as a person, I'm more reserved when it comes to going out drinking and all these things. I'm not the party guy. I'm homebody. You know what I mean? I'll get a little bit hyped up when it comes to sports, but outside of that, I'm not really that guy. You know what I mean? But as a person who is young and you want to live and you want to smoke and you want to drink, Europe is 10 times better. I'm just realizing that it is way better than the United States, right? The freedom to drink, hang out, and like, it is way better in Europe. Like, you can actually party. Like, you don't have to worry about being drunk late at nights. The chances of being robbed, all these things are actually dramatically reduced, which is actually funny because you'd think that partying it up in America would be way better, but it's actually not, because there's some really high significant benefits when it comes to partying it up in Europe, Germany to be specific. But in the United States, you do not have none of those benefits. You have to have a specific driver in the United States, or you have to get an Uber, or you got to walk. And you walking might end up, just sleeping on the streets, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so there's a lot of downers, People don't even like when people smoke in the United States. It's not something that, it's necessarily, woo, it's kind of frowned upon, actually. Wow. Oh, wow. I've never saw that perspective before. Never thought of it.
Uber, we have Lyft, we have, with an app, you can call a car to come pick you up. But if it's 2 a.m. and it's surging, whatever they call it, suddenly you're paying $50 to drive 20 minutes. Now, how can you afford to keep doing this? Or you get worried, are you not affording it, so you're getting home other ways, which are not healthy for you or for anyone else.
Exactly. You meet a lot of Germans, and Germans take drinking and driving incredibly seriously. Driving, they'll maybe one beer at the very beginning and make sure to wait 2-3 hours before they start driving again, before they get into a car. Or they'll say, you know what, I'm driving, I'm not drinking at all today. And I don't see that same culture when I'm in the States at all. But like Alex, Jeff, we need to drive in America. Of course, we don't have good public transport. We don't have these things. And of course, I get that. I live that. The States was built around the car in the suburbs. And you have these, shopping areas and living areas, and you can't have them together.
I feel more and more as I'm in the US, how disjointed it is, how separate everything is. Whereas in Europe, you have shopping and you have residential combined. I mean, you have the stores just as the ground floor of the apartment buildings. You have apartments above, and it creates.
That's what I said, because people told me that in the comments. I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, that is mad.
More of a sense of community. The moment I walk out my front door, there's life, because everybody's around. They're going to cafes, they're going shopping.
So every time in the States, I get extremely frustrated where I have to just pick up one little thing. This turns into a 20 or 30 minute round trip of getting in the car, getting out of the neighborhood, driving down one of these big roads. I think if you live in the United States, you know what I'm talking about. I think every small town or town has this.
It's a long road, and on either side, you have about, 100 meters of just parking lot. And then eventually, way in the distance, you have a long row of stores, strip malls.
No walkability, no way to just pick up what I need to from home by walking there.
Even, I don't know if a lot of people know about outlets, because I don't really know how many outlets there are in the United States. I just know about mines because of South Carolina. It's as simple as that. I don't really know much about anybody else. But even the outlets, like, oh my gosh, like, like a lot of people, I've always recognized the outlet in South Carolina. People used to come to that outlet from different locations. And yeah, big old parking lot, man. That's the largest parking lot I've ever seen in my entire life, actually. Yeah, that is, easily. That was, oh my gosh, that was a massive parking lot. Holy shit. I mean, I might have seen bigger, but based on just off the top, yeah, they even had a car place selling cars. Dude, what the frick, man? Gee, whew, that is crazy. Yeah, and in European parking lots, man, like, they're easily filled up. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a massive parking lot in Finland before. Like, outside of the airport, I don't think I've ever seen that before, dog. That's actually so crazy.
Coming back.
I just want people to know, especially in the US, I know these aren't your fault. This urban plan was set up long before most of you were born. It has nothing to do with you. This was back when it was decided that cars and the highways are now going to be the way we do things. So you all got stuck with it.
You could fix these problems with a tram, with a little subway, even in small areas. It could happen. And I personally want to live my life in the easiest way possible. Living in a city where I don't need a car, I can walk places. I kind of have that.
One thing I'm completely used to living in Germany, living in Europe, is walking everywhere, being out in the fresh air, being able to just go from A to B in a few minutes by a walk, you know, and just feeling healthy, being out and about. And that's something that hits you with all the driving in the USA, is walking is hard. Now, my mom loves a good walk, and she does several outdoor walks every day. You can find paths and, you know, figure it out, but a lot of times in the US, going from your house to where the stores are, walking is kind of impossible or extremely dangerous.
Highway, yeah.
Because they're about this wide, and at random points they just end in the middle of nowhere, and you're kind of stuck because, again, they didn't expect anyone to actually use the sidewalk, because why would you if you were?
And some of them, you're not supposed to be there either. You get a ticket. The cops come, they get you. They're like, yo, what's good? Why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. This is drive-in only. Like, that's actually facts.
Cool, normal American, you'd be in your car.
And it just makes things easier. I don't have to plan as much, and life is just easy.
At the end of the day, we've learned that after living abroad for so long, it's okay to have a complicated relationship with your home and your new chosen home.
Exactly. Life's not good or bad, black and white. It's a spectrum. It's a million shades of gray. And everyone with that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and of course,
stay thirsty.
That's it. Be proud about something that, you know, you had nothing to do with. I didn't choose to be born where I was born.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to say the United States is horrible, or I'm not going to say that Germany is horrible. There's going to be greats and there's going to be bad. And it's as simple as that. And I love how these guys handled it. I personally think that, you know, if you had to choose some things, because even he mentioned about being 16 in the United States, it's a lot more of a thing, in my humble opinion, being 16 in the United States. You can do a lot more, you know, a little bit more freedom, except drinking, but, you know, a lot more freedom. And when you think about it, in Germany, you guys can drink, right? At maybe 16, 14, I think it was, right? So there's a lot more freedom in each country for different situations and reasons, and you know, it's just what makes either of these countries great. Because if Germany, you know, didn't have that drinking ability to drink at age 14 or 16, well, you know, the United States wouldn't, you know, seem weird, right? And if the United States didn't allow it after 21, then technically, you know, Germany wouldn't seem special. You know, so we're special because we're different, you know. So I appreciate Germany and the United States very, very, very much. Wonderful countries. Always will love the United States. It is not perfect. And yeah, that's just how it is. It's just not perfect. You know what I mean? And yeah, Germany is pretty amazing. A lot of great features. A lot of great stuff. But yeah, you guys can let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching as usual. I'm out of here. Peace.